A full-time job makes building a physique tougher, but it's not impossible. In this video, I'm going to break down how you can eat, train, and recover while working a busy schedule to feel like you're still making progress without sacrificing your life and feeling burnt out. I'm Jack, owner of Relentless Pursuit Coaching. I help lads and busy men like yourself build muscle and take the fluff out of training and nutrition. Why is bodybuilding or building a physique with a 9 to 5 job so difficult? Well, you've got to start off with obviously there's not enough hours in the day. Your work will take up the majority of your day. If you think about it, you're sleeping 8 hours, you're working 8 hours, and then on top of that, you've got to factor in things like travel, like commuting times to and from work, to and from the gym. So that makes everything just more difficult in general. Obviously, when you've got physique goals, you've got to think about things like your training, your meal prep, your recovery, making sure you're actually getting enough sleep in, and then anything else that you might need to do, like cardio and things like steps. And all this can lead to keeping on top of your training and your nutrition, your recovery, feel like an uphill battle all the time where you're trying to balance your energy from work and your energy into the gym. So what is the key to all this? Well, it's just time management. It's just being able to effectively manage your time properly. The majority of bodybuilders aren't online coaches like myself. They are 9 to 5 workers. They are regular people like yourself that have physique goals in mind and manage their time appropriately in order to make those physique goals happen. So the first thing you've got to consider is when you're going to train. So if you're doing a 9 to 5 job, then typically you're going to be either training first thing in the morning or in the evening after work. Now, I highly recommend that you don't train too late in the evenings because that will impair your sleep. And then at the same time in the mornings, I'd still recommend that you eat something in the mornings. Now, what's the advantages of training in the morning versus training in the evening? Well, training in the morning leaves less time to make excuses to not get things done. You have a certain number of brain points or willpower that you can spend at the beginning of the day. And if you're spending all that throughout the day and then you're leaving your training tonight into the evening, then the chances are you're going to struggle to get to the gym sometimes and you're struggling to find motivation to get to the gym. And sometimes that can increase resistance and increase the likelihood that you skip out on it. Another advantage of morning training is it leaves your evenings for relaxation, which can improve your sleep and it can improve your things like your social life. If you have social events in the evening as well, all these different things can be vastly improved if you box off your training in the morning and you make sure you get that done nice and early. And then obviously within that as well, preparation, doing things like meal prep, making sure you're actually prepping meals for the day ahead. You can do that in the evening a lot of the time much more comfortably than the morning. Now, why would you choose PM training over AM training? With PM training, you're going to have a lot more food in you. You're going to have maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 meals in you by the time you get to the gym, which is just going to make sure that you're fueling yourself properly for that session and that you're going to have as much energy and carbohydrates in the system as possible to fuel that session and to apply progressions. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not going to have that fuel for an AM session or a morning session. If you make sure that you have a high carbohydrate meal pre-bed, then you still have food in the morning, but you're not going to have as much food, which can impair performance in some cases. Another thing is going to be that flexibility around your meal timings, because you're not stressing about your pre-workout meal, because you're going to have multiple opportunities to have food pre-workout. So you're going to have, say, your lunch and then maybe a pre-workout snack. Whereas in the mornings, you're going to have had that window around sleep where you've had 8, 9 hours without food, and then you go to train, or you might only have time to actually have a very small snack when you train, where you might be the type of person who trains better with a lot more food in the system. And then obviously another benefit is that you can use training as stress relief after a long day at work. It's no secret, people say it all the time that training helps them alleviate stress. And so if you are able to get into the gym after work and train after work, maybe after a stressful day, that can be a really good endorphin rush and it can be really good at alleviating some of that stress. But at the same time, with PM sessions, with evening sessions, one of the biggest things you need to take into consideration is pre-sleep. So you don't want to have any stimulants. So that's no pre-workout, no coffee, no pre-workout before you train, because that's going to impair your sleep. Say you're training at 5, 6 o'clock at night. Then on top of that, you need to make sure that you're leaving at least 2 to 3 hours between the time that you go to sleep and the time that you finish training, because you want to make sure your heart rate comes down. Training spikes cortisol, which obviously impairs your ability to sleep as well. So you want your cortisol to flush out, and you want your heart rate to come back down to a baseline level before you even entertain the idea of trying to get good quality sleep in. So the bottom line with obviously AM, PM comes down to your preferences, but there are some certain advantages of an AM session versus a PM and vice versa. Another critical component to obviously building a physique is going to be your nutrition and getting meals in, which can be difficult with a 9 to 5 job, as you don't have time to just go off into the kitchen and prep a meal or to cook a meal and then eat it. Sometimes you have limited hours where you can actually get meals in, and you'll be happy to know that meal timing doesn't actually matter that much when it comes to building muscle or even fat loss. It doesn't matter if you're having 3 meals a day versus 4 versus 5, as long as you're getting a decent amount of protein in, and as long as you're getting, I would say, a good post-workout meal in, then you'll be sound in regards to getting nutrition in. But meal prep is survival. So if you're trying to survive in an office environment while trying to build your physique, you need to meal prep. It's a non-negotiable, because you need to be giving your body what it needs in order to grow and in order to repair and to recover and to perform. And so if you're not giving your body what it needs, then you're going to be severely hamstringing yourself. So meal prep is essential. What I like to do is I like to prep my lunches for the next day as I'm cooking my dinner in the evening. So say I'm having chicken and rice for my post-workout meal in the evening, then what I'll do is I'll cook 2 portions. I'll cook a portion for in the evening, and then I'll cook a portion for my lunch the next day, and that makes it dead easy to have a meal available for me to have when I'm on my lunch break that's going to have a high protein, it's going to be high in micronutrients, and it's going to be actually conducive to my goals of physique development. Or alternatively, you can meal prep a batch of meals in one go, and this is my preferred method nowadays. I like to, even as an online coach, have a very busy schedule, and I don't like to have to take half an hour to cook 4 times a day. So what I do is I actually batch my meals. I'll cook about 6 to 8 meals, which is going to be enough for 3 to 4 days. And then what I'll do is I'll have nice and quick, easy to make meals, a Greek yogurt or a skyr and berries. It takes 2 seconds to prepare that, or oats, which takes 5 minutes. And then I'll have other meals throughout the day, which maybe my chicken and rice, that takes a little bit longer to prep. I'll have that ready to go for the next 3 to 4 days ahead. I wouldn't recommend any more than 4 days though, because obviously you're looking at things like food poisoning, making sure your food's actually fresh and is actually safe to eat. But that is one way that you can do it, is you can batch your meals in. Obviously, as I entertained earlier, you don't need 5 big meals a day. What you can do is you can have 3 meals, and this is what I recommend to a lot of my clients. It's 3 meals and a snack. So say you're having your breakfast, lunch, and your dinner. So your breakfast is lunch, and then your dinner is obviously going to be your post-workout meal. And then you can have a quick snack pre-workout, and that can be something like a banana, square bars, a protein shake. These really easy things to put together, or even a Greek yogurt. Say you're in a massing phase, a Greek yogurt would be perfect, because you can put things like granola in that, honey, berries, bananas, etc. Dark chocolate makes it really easy to get a lot of calories in without having to prep your meal too much. And then obviously just being realistic with your meal timings. It's better to be consistent and be able to consistently get your meals and your calorie intake in than it is to be optimal about your meals. So you're not going to have optimal meals every day, but as long as you're consistently hitting your protein intake, as long as you're consistently hitting your calorie intake, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as I alluded to before. Oftentimes you see people, they think they need to be in the gym 5-6 days a week, but in reality 3-4 days a week in the gym is going to be more than enough. And in fact, a lot of studies have said, and what a lot of the science is saying nowadays, is that full body or upper lower splits, so that's a 3 time a week full body split or a 4 day a week upper lower split can be more than enough to build muscle. And in fact, it's actually optimal to do those splits. So instead of doing 5-6 days a week where you might struggle to get that in, what a really good thing that you can do is you can utilize your weekends. So say you get 2 sessions boxed off on your weekend, your Saturday, Sunday, with say an upper lower split, and then you have the rest of the week to get 2 more sessions in. So another upper and another lower session in, which makes it way easier to balance a 9 to 5 and training and physique goals. Recovery too, sleep, obviously vastly important, but if you are really struggling with sleep, then 7 hours is going to be a non-negotiable for you. Make sure the sleep quality is high. So if you say can only get 6 to 7 hours of sleep in, then you need to make up for the quality of sleep that you're getting. So things like making sure you're sticking to basic sleep hygiene, your cold room, dark room, quiet room, and making sure that you're having a relaxing bedtime routine, and also you're making sure that you're getting sunlight in the morning, because this is a thing that a lot of 9 to 5 workers they miss out on, is they don't get sunlight in the morning. So even a 10, 15, 20 minute walk in the morning is going to benefit you and your sleep quality at night. Making sure that you're actually able to balance your life, not just sleeping 9 hours, working 8 hours, and then training for 2 hours a day. That unless you want to do that, that can be like a large chunk of your life, and then obviously eating as well. Sometimes sleep is going to be sacrificed, but as long as you're working on your sleep quality and as long as you're making sure that that is as good as possible, then there's not going to be too much detriment there. And obviously on the stress management side, so using something maybe like Google Calendar to manage your time, or even journaling to alleviate some stress, going on brief walks or meditation. All these are really good options to alleviate stress and make sure that you are in the best mental state and your body is in the best state to actually grow and repair. And finally, it's just about managing your expectations. You're not a robot, you're not a professional bodybuilder. You're not going to be able to be on the ball, on the money every single day and be an absolute machine every single day. The 80-20 rule is a thing. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent. 20% of the habits are going to get you 80% of the results. So training, you're training hard, you're training smart. Your nutrition, you're getting your protein intake in, you're getting your calorie intake in. That's all that really matters, and you're in a calorie deficit or calorie surplus. And obviously your recovery with 6 to 7 hours of actual sleep, not just time in bed, and you're checking off your basic sleep hygiene. The majority of your gains in the gym, 80% of your gains. The other 20% can be very low hanging fruit, things like supplements, things like just optimizing your meals a little bit to have better nutrients in there. And then obviously things like blackout blinds, white noise machines, sleeping aids, supplements and stuff like that. Those are going to be like the 1% that can go on top. And if they're low hanging fruit and they're not taking you out your way, they can add a lot of benefit in there. Again, with managing expectations of the life that's going to happen, you're going to have work trips, you're going to have deadlines, you're going to have social events, you're going to have loads of things that are going to be on that are going to take away from your training and nutrition. You're not a pro bodybuilder, you can't be on the ball all the time. So being able to manage these and get back on track is going to be absolutely key. Making sure you're not making that excuse. You have a night out or you have a work trip and you just completely fall off the map. Maybe you go on that work trip and you're not necessarily tracking your food as heavily, or you're still tracking your food. You're not eating to your meal plan maybe. You're being mindful of your protein intake, your micronutrient intake. You're trying to see what gyms are in the area so that you can get a session in when you have time. And even if you don't have time to do a session, then you're eating your rest day food or you're getting steps in and whatnot, because again, all these different habits add up and it's about staying consistent. But those expectations shouldn't take away from the fact that you should understand this, that you can build a very impressive top 1% physique, even if you have a 9 to 5 job. Like I said before, the majority of bodybuilders are 9 to 5 workers or even shift workers working night shifts, which is a whole nother topic in itself. A lot of the best bodybuilders in the world are 9 to 5 workers. They're regular people. They're not online coaches. They don't own their own businesses, and they build fantastic physiques. So there's no reason, no excuse why you can't build a fantastic physique as well, as long as you manage things properly. If you found this video helpful, then don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want more information and content around building muscle with a busy lifestyle. And if you want a personalized game plan to help get you results, then click the link in the description to inquire for my coaching where I can help you with that. Let's make progress, not excuses.